Hi Hinsters, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new, welcome too. How you doing? Happy Leo season. Today is Tuesday due day. It is, of course, the day ruled by Mars, Tuesday, and today I'm coming with a quick video on the, Mars conjunction with Jupiter in Gemini, which officially happens tomorrow, the 14th of August, 2024, but it's already going on because Jupiter and Mars have been within 5 degrees of each other for quite some time now. But before we get into it, my name is Hinny. I'm a spiritual astrologer. I do readings as well, birth chart readings, general readings, transit reports. I do tarot as well, and I do other kinds of readings, Saturn return readings. I do solar return readings. I do rising sign readings, all kinds of stuff. So get in touch if you're interested in a reading. I also just started going on TikTok live. So my plan is to go on TikTok live like 3 times a week. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I went yesterday as well because I'm on holiday now, so I have more time. And I just finished also a bunch of free readings. So thank you so much for waiting if you have been waiting for a free reading. So my free readings are back up as well, but you have to go to my Instagram, hinnyastrology. I think that's my Instagram. Hiya, if you're just tuning in, by the way, do leave a comment. Yes, hinnyastrology is my Instagram. So for the free reading, you have to follow me there and check out the details. Send me a DM. But yeah, free readings are open. So how's everyone been? How's your Leo season going? It's very, very hot here in Korea. It's like 34, 35 degrees. Crazy, crazy hot. But I'm going well. And I wanted to come and talk about this conjunction between Mars and Jupiter. So, God, my throat today, I don't know what's wrong. I wanted to kind of title this video, Mars conjunct Jupiter, go big or go home. And this is a very long or very important transit for many people, because the next time that Jupiter and Mars are conjunct, by the way, conjunct means they're at the same degree of the same sign. So that's going to be what? 16 degrees of Gemini. So officially, the official conjunction is 16 degrees Gemini. So that's what a conjunction is. 2 or more planets or placements at the same degree point in the chart and the same sign. So they're both in Gemini right now. And it's important for many people because the next time that this happens is not going to be until like 2029. Now they do meet again briefly in 2027, between like March and May 2027, these two gods. And they meet in Leo, and that's due to Mars's retrograde at that time in Leo. But the proper official next conjunction is not until June 2029. So whenever we have like this kind of beginning of quite a long cycle, it's a great time for those of us who want to set some kind of intention to do with the house where the conjunction is taking place. So you need to know your rising sign so that you can calculate the houses in your chart and find out where you have Gemini in your birth chart, because that is where you have this conjunction. And wherever you have Gemini in the birth chart is where you have a set of themes. So look to that house, you have a set of themes, and you can pick one or more of the themes in that house, and you can make this conjunction a starting point to work on something within that house. So let's say you have Gemini in the first house, which means you're a Gemini rising. Then the first house has such themes as personality and body and aura and health and your worldview and all kinds of stuff. So you can pick one or two of those themes and choose to focus for the next 4 to 5 years roughly on that theme. It's a very good time for intention setters, people who like to set intentions, have astrological goals. And it's a long-term goal setting period. And so you would, as a Gemini rising, then choose something, for example, health, and be like, okay, I'm going to take advantage of the energy right now and make intentions for myself and my health for the next 4 years. There's something I want to do, or there's this list of things I want to do pertaining to my health, and I'm going to work on it using this kind of catapult of Mars and Jupiter conjunct. Hello, Nico from Istanbul. How you doing, Nico? Nico, are you Turkish? Welcome, Nico. Good, good. You're fine. I just started this transit video. Sorry, guys. My throat is really clogged today. I'm glad you're fine. Welcome, welcome, Nico. So, yeah, let me kind of get into, shall we, the grandparents come from Bulgaria, Macedonia, and the Caucasus. Ooh, very eclectic family there. Very nice. And what is your rising sign, my love Nico? As I was saying earlier, it's very hot here in Korea. I've been to Istanbul once and I really loved it. Beautiful city. By the way, if you're watching this video back after the fact, you can write in the comments your rising sign and tell me where you have Gemini in your birth chart. Leo, okay. Leo rising, Aqua Sun, Aqua Moon. Okay, lots of Aquarius, nice. So as a Leo rising, this is going to be in your 11th house, Nico. I don't have any Aquarius placements in my birth chart, actually. I have my North Node in Aquarius. Okay, so you know what? I'm gonna put the aircon back on because it's 27 degrees already in my house. Okay, let me just give me 2 ticks, guys. Because I have a bit of a scripty going on. And I want to be able to see the chat as I do this. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Nice. Okay, so yes, the official conjunction of Jupiter and Mars in the sign of Gemini. Happening officially tomorrow, which is August 14th, 2024, but the conjunction has been going on for quite some time and will, of course, continue in terms of the strength of the energy and the prime time for doing things and intending things. That will continue for a few days longer after the date of August 14th. So as I said before, I wanted to title this video Go Big or Go Home. And this video is for all signs. Please consider your rising sign. That's going to be the most accurate. If you want to consider another sign, that's fine. But I advise the rising sign. Hello, if you're just tuning in, by the way, welcome. And yeah, so this transit is a bit complicated and it stands as an offer for some people to start or to accelerate on a chunky, challenging period, which is a 4 to 5 year period, characterized by the mighty masculine gods, Jupiter and Mars. And we have with this conjunction, this union, a malefic, Mars, joining the king of the benefics, Jupiter. And the reason I say this transit is complicated is that each of these gods rule 2 houses in our birth charts. And the transit can be especially potent for those whose Gemini house is an angular house. So that's the 1st, the 7th, the 4th, and the 10th houses. So if your Gemini is in one of those 4 houses, it's even more potent for you guys. And what's even more magical about all of this is that this super conjunction is hosted by a retrograde Mercury, which is exalted and in domicile. So Mercury is in a very good position to be hosting this transit. And also, because Mercury is retrograde at this time in the sign of Virgo, there's a lot, I think, to be said about this being a very simple thing where Mars and Jupiter conjunct can mean then that for many of us, it's a major revamping or rehauling or reattempting something in our Gemini house. But the feeling is like, if we start doing this revamping or this rehauling or reattempting now, the effects and the wisdom gained after the next kind of 4 to 5 years can be pretty incredible. So it's a very exciting opportunity for many of us to work with this long period of 4 to 5 years in our Gemini house. So do let me know where you have Gemini in your birth chart. And if you are one of these kind of very kind of go-getter, kind of intention setting, seeking people, pick just one theme from that house and set a kind of challenge or goal for yourself to work on that theme for the next 4 to 5 years. Write a list of goals for that surrounding that particular theme. Because Mars is all about acceleration. Yes, he is a malefic god, but sometimes we need this malefic shadow energy to push us, to force us to do things. For example, if you have Gemini in the 8th house, the 8th house in astrology is the house of laziness and idleness. So for many people, in many ways, we want Mars to come into our 8th house sometimes to really shake that laziness or that idleness off. And for some people, this can be like a great beginning of a cycle of getting out of a rut or getting out of a depression even, because the 8th house does include things like anxiety for the future. That's an 8th house theme. So you could pick that theme, or you could pick the theme of idleness or laziness and use this Martian energy to really pump you, to really push you to cutting, because this is what Mars does. He rules cutting and severing and separation. He rules things like burning and fire and going to war. And then we have him then conjunct with Jupiter, who's, as I said earlier, the king of the benefics. He's the king of the gods, the god of the gods, if you like. He is like the archetypes such as Zeus, and he's the most kind of positive then, or optimistic then. And so there's a big opportunity here for many people to inject this Jupiterian positivity, and to inject also this kind of hope for wisdom. But it's interesting because Jupiter is in the sign of Gemini. And that's actually the sign where he has his detriment. He doesn't like to be in the sign of Gemini. But remember, he's hosted by Mercury over in Virgo, and Mercury is exalted there. Yes, Mercury is retrograde, but as I said earlier, this is a big, special, precious opportunity for many people to begin a period of Mercury retrogrades are about something. So revamping, redoing, revisiting something in that Gemini house. And then it can be, yes, about kind of really expanding in this Jupiterian way on a Gemini house theme. So I hope that paints a bit of an introductory picture or tone for the meeting of these two gods in our Gemini house. There's some other things we should keep in mind. So right now, the overarching kind of dragon year energy is, of course, still going on. And I really recommend, if you don't know, guys, this astrologer, psychic astrologer called Polina Otkina here on YouTube. She has a channel as well. Brilliant. And she has spoken a lot already about the dragon year and how the dragon year is very much this, there's this theme or element of no one's going to help you in some way. And that can really be felt with this Jupiter-Mars conjunction as well. So something in our Gemini house that we really have to cope with or deal with ourselves and do for ourselves. Remember, Jupiter doesn't like to be in Gemini, and he's conjunct Mars, a malefic. So it's not necessarily going to feel great or ideal to start this cycle or to set this particular intention. And it might well have to do a lot with having to learn from others or having to learn in mundane ways or in kind of common knowledge type ways. So Jupiter, one reason he doesn't like to be in Gemini is because Gemini is kind of like just learning on the fly from like normal everyday interactions and things, but Jupiter tends to like things more grandiose and more kind of idealistic and religious or cultural or just these kind of huge, big, expansive things. That's Jupiter's jam. Whereas Gemini is a bit more like talking to the milkman or the postman or like talking to some random person in the lift and like maybe learning something, but also just sharing wit and exchanging knowledge in a very normal, ordinary, pedestrian way, because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini, and Mercury is the ruler of pedestrian magic and pedestrian energies, which is to say all the kind of magic and stuff and synchronicities that go on an everyday level in our everyday lives. There's nothing like necessarily grand about it. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to be a big temple or a big church or a big kind of shamanistic ritual. It can just be a very simple interaction or series of very simple tasks, interactions, and short journeys and connections. That's Mercury. And so Jupiter is kind of having to cope with that. And also with Mars here, very close to Jupiter right now. He's being encouraged to just get on with it and to just push ahead mentally. Mars in Gemini, push ahead mentally and to really take and seize, because Mars is the god of seizing and capturing, to take and seize what we can in our Gemini house from that pushing and from that effort to learn kind of on the fly. So by the way, let me know where you have Gemini in your birth chart, guys, and tell me if you're thinking of any particular themes in that house. If you don't know what themes are in your Gemini house, I can tell you as well. So I did title this video, or I want to title this video, Go Big or Go Home. And it doesn't mean that it's not okay to go or to stay home, but it may be harder, especially in the next year. So in the next astrological year, in like the spring, spiritual spring, so March, April, it can be harder for us to kind of fly, you know. Dragon year is a great time to get flying. I think a lot of people are already on that way. 11th house, Gemini, nice. Oh, fantastic, Nico, by the way, because Jupiter is in his joy in the 11th house. Did you know? So this is the house where he loves to be, because the 11th house is the house of all the good stuff rained on us from the gods. The 11th house is the house of friendships and alliances. It is the house of wishes and ambitions. So even though he's in his detriment in Gemini, Nico, he is in his joy house. So that's very auspicious and nice for you, Nico. And hello, Janae. How you doing? Where are you, Janae? I'm here in Korea. We've got lovely Nico in Istanbul, and you are Gemini. Sorry, your Gemini house is 8th and ninth, Janae. Okay. So I was talking earlier, Janae. I don't know if you tuned in. You can watch back later. I was talking about the 8th house. Just some example themes in that house are anxiety for the future and laziness and idleness. We also have in the 8th house debt and death and shared contracts, and also things that are to do with the emotional baggage or the private business of other people, including our partners or romantic partners. So that's a little bit into the 8th house for you, my love. But yeah, as I was saying, next year astrologically is a snake year. So the dragon wings kind of get clipped, and there's a lot more kind of advantage for the shadow energies and for the introverted and introspective energies during that year. So that's kind of more of a natural year to kind of go home and kind of roost a bit more in snake year, whereas now is more the time to focus on launching and gliding and flying in spiritual ways, and experiencing these kind of more dragon type things, which can be very difficult as well, because the dragon year is very cruel and difficult and epic. It's legendary dragon year for many people, and it kind of takes no prisoners, the dragon year. And having this Jupiter Mars conjunction as well in Gemini can really feel like that, like there's no one else or nothing else that's going to like do it for you. It's a you thing. Especially if you're Gemini rising, or maybe you have Gemini in the 4th house or the 7th house, and especially the 10th house. So I really feel like Gemini risings and those who have Gemini in the 10th house, so that would make you, let me just do the quick calculations. That would make you, oh, wait. Pisces rising. Yeah, Pisces rising. You would be Pisces rising with Gemini in the 10th house. So for Pisces and Gemini rising especially, I think this is a very special, epic kind of opportunity to really just like do something for yourself. You can really be feeling that push, which again might be uncomfortable for yourself to do something. Okay, so what is Mars? I think I talked a lot about Mars already, but he rules many things like separate. He's a malefic planet, right? A malefic god. So he rules fire. It's Tuesday due day. It's his day today, as I feel it. He is the ruler of Tuesday. Tuesday is a great day to just get the feck on with things and fire through tasks. Mars is the god of fighting and war and strife and struggling. And also things like inflammation and scars and like, I don't know, like spiciness and burns and all that kind of jazz. He's also the ruler of acceleration and moving forward. He is the ruler also of some interesting things like covering your back, and like the importance of covering your back, and being also kind of hemmed in or being kind of against a wall. That's also Mars stuff. He rules that kind of stuff. He's the ruler of strategy and surgery as well. So that's very interesting. So maybe if you have Gemini in your first house, some Gemini risings might consider or have to consider surgery for the next 4 to 5 years. Or there might be some significant bodily or health-related surgery going on for you. Jupiter, as I was saying, is a benefic. So he's considered to be the most advantageous god, and the most benefic, generous god. He's the god of generosity. He's the god of abundance. He's the god also of judgment. He's a judgment type of god, and he's the god of dissemination. So there can be a lot also here of wanting to talk about everything you have been learning with Jupiter in Gemini, to really spread the word in some way, because Jupiter is very much like that, and he's in the sign of Gemini. which is the exchange of knowledge and the connections we make with all sorts of people to gain more knowledge and to get cleverer or to get more kind of connected. Okay, so it really is about putting all this Jupiterian Martian energy into a theme of your Gemini house. So that's 4 to 5 years worth of intentional energy. So what in your Gemini house do you want to have mastered or gained a much kind of bigger understanding of come 2029? And again, this is only for the people who want to set intentions, who like to set goals. I'm not saying you have to set anything. You could just be as well. You could just be and see what this conjunction has to say for you, and just like look at your Gemini house and be like, oh, this is what Jupiter and Mars are expressing, or this is what I'm having in terms of the cosmic conversation for me. This is how the divine dance is playing out for me. You could just take that more kind of passive observational thing as well. That's totally fine. 10th house Gemini is going to be Pisces rising, if I'm not mistaken. Janae. Yeah, Pisces rising. So if you have Gemini in the 10th house, you're Pisces rising, and the 10th house is the house of things like big action. It's the praxis house. It's the house also of career and calling and reputation. It's a very interesting house because the 10th house is the house that it's the highest point in the birth chart. So when we consider like the horizon, which is made up of the ascendant descendant line, the 6 houses below that are kind of the underworld, and the 6 houses above that are the heavens. We know then that the 10th house is the highest point of the heavens. So I often like to call the 10th house the arena of the gods house. Oh, sorry. Yes, you're right. I miscounted that. Yes, you're right, Janae. Sorry. It is Virgo rising. Yes, so Virgo rising. Yes, Virgo rising. Gemini in the 10th house. Yes, not Pisces rising. Virgo rising. So, so earlier when I said Pisces rising, Gemini rising, let me change that to Gemini rising and Virgo rising. I think for those 2 rising signs, it's going to be the most poignant potentially for you. So yeah, the 10th house, I like to often describe as the arena of the gods house. It is when we, or our life is the most visible to the public world. It is also when things are most noticeable or visible to the gods. It is kind of like the Olympus house. So whenever we have a planet going through the 10th house, things are being drawn more to the attention of the gods, and we are more open to the praise of the gods, or the meddling of the gods, or more open to engagement with the gods. So it's a very nice house, I like to think. And then we have that going into the 11th house. The 11th house being the house of, I believe in traditional astrology, the translation literally is pennies from heaven. It's the house of pennies from heaven. So it's the stuff, the good wishes, ambitions fulfilled, kind of given to us, granted for us from the gods as a kind of post-judgment or a result of what was going on in the previous 10th house. So that's just a little bit about the 10th house then for you guys, for Virgo rising. Thank you again, Janae, for correcting me. So yes, the period is like March to May 2027 when we have this conjunction again, but it's only very brief, and it's due to a retrograde of Mars in Leo. And the proper conjunction, so that is Mars having gone through all the signs again and meeting Jupiter will be June 2029, around about then. Okay, Janae, you were just saying that you felt like you had a spotlight that is literally always shining on you. Nice, nice. Um, dun, 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 dun. Yeah, if you have planets or stuff going on in the 10th house, it can be, and the 11th house as well, but the 10th house especially can be a kind of spotlight on us type of experience or amplification. And also, the reason why I mentioned the 10th house as important is because it's an angular house. So, in traditional astrology, the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses are considered the most important houses in terms of life events for the native, or in terms of things like actually happening and things actually being felt. So, it's not that every single transit going through every single house in the birth chart always has to mean something dramatic or epic for us. Indeed, many houses of the chart have nothing to do with us and more to do with other parts of our life, but that's another story for another video. But the 10th house is one of those angular houses. So definitely, if you've got something going on there, like this Gemini Mars Jupiter conjunction, it can be a very good time to take some big actions, whatever that might be, maybe for your career or your calling, because that's very 10th house. But also, 10th house is taking big actions, being suddenly very busy. So, for some of these people, it can mark the beginning of a very busy period. The a busy 4 to 5 year period starting around about now. Um, okay, so let's go through the rising signs just very briefly then. So I'm going to start with Gemini rising. So remember, we talked overall about this being a conjunction of kind of like go big or go home. We're bringing the benefic Jupiter with the malefic Mars together. There's a bit of discomfort, there's a bit of push, but it's hosted by this magnificent retrograde Virgo host over in Virgo. And so that's a great invitation for us to do something big and reflective and revisiting. So for Gemini rising, then, this I think is for you putting your best foot forward in some sense. So because this is your first house, Gemini rising, this is the house of you, your very body, your very spirit, your very everything, every way you look, every way you come across, every way you feel in your body, your health, all of that stuff is the first house. And this is where you have this conjunction. So there might be for some Gemini risings, as I was suggesting, like a push or a need to get some surgery or to do something kind of drastic or big for your health or your body. That's definitely there. I'm just reading the comments. So Janae, you have a moon, Venus, and Mercury all in the 10th. Wow. You've got a 10th house stellium, Janae. Fantastic. That's very good. Janae, do you, in your job or like your working life or your calling, is it quite a public or public facing type of role? Or do you have roles that are more visible or more kind of front of house? Because that can be quite common for the 10th house. So yeah, for Gemini rising then, putting your best foot forward in some sense for yourself. So taking some big step, maybe an uncomfortable step, Gemini, but doing that for yourself. And Mars rules your 6th and 11th houses, Gemini. So here we've got stuff like your health and suffering and bad fortune and kind of fighting to attain wishes of yours that you have to kind of get rid of or shake off something bad in your life, Gemini. And Jupiter rules your 7th and 10th houses, Gemini. So this is stuff like your partners and other people, and maybe like taking a lot of action. This could be like really putting effort and money and resources together to, in the distant future, get married, for example, or to really commit in some sense. Maybe big action taken to commit to business or some business contract. Because that 10th house again is the house of big action, and the 7th house is the house of the other, including other people we might get on like a business endeavor with. Okay, Cancer rising. So for you, I have kicking bad spirits ass. So this is because you have Gemini in the 12th house. I'm a Cancer rising. And the 12th house is the house of bad spirit. And just for me personally, I've chosen to spend this, to work on this conjunction intentionally to fight negative thoughts, for example, that kind of thing. Negative thoughts or like depressing thoughts, that kind of thing. I've chosen to actively fight against that and work against that. And it's going to take a long time because these things sometimes for some people take a lot of therapy or unraveling. And we always have to be, I feel, graceful with ourselves and gentle with ourselves when we deal with mental health or other 12th house things like isolation or addictions, this type of stuff. So if you're a Cancer rising, it can be a great time for you to commit to kicking the ass of something in your house of bad spirit, including like something that you might do that always trips you up. Because the 12th house is behind the ascendant, it's behind the first house. So it's the house of hidden enemies, which includes, yes, those things that we do without realizing that mess things up or sabotage things for ourselves. So that's that Cancer rising. And Mars for you, Cancer, rules the 5th and the 10th houses. So I get here, for some of you, lots of big action or commitment to stuff like children, if you have children, or pets or plants or things that you want to raise and cultivate and grow up for yourself. Also, this can be self-pleasure, like entertainment, self-care in a way, but like self-care through having fun or going and dating a lot as well. Some Cancer risings will be recently single perhaps, or soon to be single, and starting like a 4-year period of singledom, or really just focusing on the self or focusing on something more independent. And you have Cancer, Jupiter ruling your 6th and 9th houses. So this to me speaks of lots of higher education or learning about how to get rid of bad fortune, because the 6th house is the house of bad fortune. And you also have that activation from this conjunction in Gemini of the 12th house of bad spirit. So bad fortune, bad spirit, you have lots of bad house activations here. So it's a great opportunity, Cancer rising, to, in that 9th house way, learn a lot as to how to combat these things that are less fortunate in your life, perhaps. And it can be not in the way that you necessarily think, Cancer. As I was mentioning before, Jupiter doesn't like to be in Gemini, but he is your 9th house ruler, Cancer. So this is like seeing what you can learn, what pearls of wisdom you can gain from conversations with normal people or like regular interactions, and what you can learn from interpersonal kind of observation. Okay, Leo rising. Now I have for you, snatch those wishes. Snatch those wishes, Leo rising. So you have this conjunction taking place in your 11th house. That is the joy of Jupiter. So that's a very auspicious thing, even though it might be a little bit different, or there might be more of like a push or resistance for you. I still think this is great this time around because Jupiter is hosted by that beautiful Mercury retrograde in Virgo. And it's a very strong hosting here. And for you, Leo rising, then, yes, the 11th house is the house of wishes and ambitions, things that you want to have come true for you. It's the house of friendships and alliances as well. It's also considered the house of the people who help you get what you want. So it's not just friends. It's like the house of friends who help you get things, nice things. So keep that in mind as well, Leo. It could be a nice period starting for you of more friends or more interaction with your friends or fighting for your friends alongside your friends in some sense to attain things or gaining things. And for you, Leo rising, Mars rules the fourth and the ninth houses. So there might be some kind of higher learning for you or optimism eventually gained when it comes to home or your family or your roots. It might be a bit uncomfortable, but it's interesting and it's very teaching for your Leo rising. And Jupiter rules your fifth and eighth houses, Leo. So this is stuff like if you have children, the secrets or the business of your children. It can be also other eighth house things. So helping a child, for example, get out of a rut, or helping a child with their debts, for example. That kind of thing can come through as well for you, Leo rising. And also it can be, for some Leo risings, a kind of reignition of romance with your partner. Because the eighth house is your partner's baggage, and the fifth house is the house of love and romance. And so there can be a kind of fighting through something emotional or deep that kind of rekindles or reignites. This is a Mercury retrograde, right? Hosting this conjunction. And so it's a great time to something like reignite, rekindle, that kind of thing. Okay, Virgo rising. So for you, just like Gemini rising, I think this is one of the most important or poignant conjunctions for you two rising signs. So Virgo rising, I have big reputation. So I say this because this is the 10th house for you. This is a conjunction in your 10th house. It could well have to do with how you are reputed or spending maybe the next few years on polishing your reputation, or maybe even completely destroying and rebuilding or regrowing your reputation or your profile, because the 10th house is also things like the public profile, especially if you have your midheaven here in the 10th house of Virgo. Now, Mars for you rules the third and the seventh houses. So it could also be a good time for you to, I'm getting here, like to get friendlier with your partners, Virgo, or to form more relationships and negotiations and get on a more peaceful level or basis with your friends and your neighbors, people like around you. It can be a great time also for you to face or connect with your localities, which includes digital localities, so any kind of online platforms or websites, forums that you're a part of. That's all third house stuff as well. And maybe you're learning a lot about love as well, Virgo rising, from the things and the people that are just around you. So that's very nice for you, Virgo. And you have Jupiter ruling your fourth and seventh houses. This is even more stuff brewing up for you, Virgo, to do with your partner or partners, other people. Maybe you're like gaining more of a firm foundation or rootedness in your partnership. So if you are like in this lovely, sweet, committed, monogamous relationship, it can just be a really nice kind of juicy time or like passionate time, maybe with a sprinkling of challenge, but like there's something there for you, Virgo, which is beneficial for you and your partner. And I think it's only going to get like stronger over the next 4 to 5 years. So I think that's very nice and auspicious for you, Virgo. Now, Libra rising. Okay. Libra rising. I have here for you, believe in yourself, because you have this conjunction in the 9th house. The 9th house is the house of things like belief and faith, and optimism and higher learning. It is the house of what I call the right way. So this set of things that you hold in yourself or that you learn in your life that you hold dear and you hold true and you believe in and trust that they are who and what you are. That's all ninth house stuff. The ninth house is kind of the house of the hills that you're willing to die on. And so you might be starting this period, Libra, of believing more in yourself and your beliefs. Maybe you are a religious person as well, so getting closer to your religion. I wouldn't be surprised if some Libra risings have some kind of like epiphany around this time, or they have some kind of big pushing kind of challenge type experience at a church or a synagogue or a temple or something, or like literally in a religious space. That just starts off this period of devotion. And the ninth house is also the house of divine gods, masculine gods. It is the house of many things, including astrology. So maybe you're getting into, for the next few years, Libra, astrology or any study of the skies. So the ninth house is that house of learning, which is always going towards the 10th house, which, remember, was that house of the Olympus, the arena of the gods. So we can see why in the ninth house we get studies of the skies. So any kind of learning, higher learning, that can be, yes, astrology, but it can also be things like meteorology. It can be things like, I don't know, air traffic control, that kind of thing as well. So some people, some Libra risings might be going to university, for example, to study not being a pilot, but studying like air traffic control or something like that. Astronomy is also here in the ninth house. And also the ninth house contains purposeful travel. So yes, some Libra risings will be, I guess, believing that they themselves can do something on their own and go abroad or go further afield for a few years. Maybe you start this kind of expat or nomadic life, Libra, which is very exciting. Or maybe you've just graduated, Libra, and you're about to start traveling, working abroad. Whatever it is, the ninth house is about longer or deeper or more meaningful journeys. So that's very nice and interesting for you. And Libra, Mars rules your second and seventh houses. So also coming through here is like how you invest into your partner or partners, how you invest into other people, and where you might be investing too much. And also watch out, Libra, for like investing too much in or spending too much on your enemies or things that are opposing you, because that's the seventh house as well. And we do have this malefic Mars in your second house, or sorry, ruling your second house. So he might have some things to say for you, to tell you, to do with like the effort or the money or whatever you're putting in towards something. You're Libra rising. You know well about the scales. So this can be a big kind of boom moment for some Libra risings, realizing that there has to be kind of some restriking of the balance in terms of how much, I don't know, they're spending on their husband or how much they're gifting to other people. This kind of thing can come into question for you, Libra. Also, Jupiter, Libra, rules your third and your sixth houses. So here I get stuff like, for example, this can be investing in the right people. So investing in friends or like a sibling or a neighbor who can provide some kind of service for you. So think really about how people can provide meaningful or purposeful services to you, Libra. And they might be closer to home than you think. And that can be any kind of service, but that's what I'm getting for you. And also maybe like learning from people around you as to how to deal with something that you're suffering from, or something that you're struggling with. And also you might be learning about hiring people, Libra, because this is like a third, sixth house kind of thing coming through with Jupiter. There might be some challenge here. And maybe you have to hire a sibling or hire a neighbor, and you've never done that before. So it can be like a period of learning in that regard. Okay, Scorpio rising. Let's get into it for you, Scorpio. So this I have for you, Scorpio, big gains. Big gains. And I say that because this is the 8th house where this conjunction is, my love, Scorpio. And the 8th house, you love the number 8 usually, right? The 8th sign. It's a very scorpionic kind of energy here, very numerologically close, so you are to 8. But the 8th house is that house, as I mentioned before, of things like debt and death, other people's business, blah, blah, blah. It's also the house of gains and what you get back from what you put in. So I mentioned earlier with Libra rising, the second house, which is the house of input, what you spend, what you invest. And the 8th house is that house of what you get back from that spending, that investment. So for some Scorpio risings, this is definitely going to be a very big opportunity. You're ruled by Mars, Scorpio. So I don't think this is going to be a very difficult or malefic time for you. I think it's going to be a prime time for you to seize upon something. Again, Mars rules seizing. So seizing upon something, some opportunity to really reap some rewards, maybe for the next 4 years for you. But I see it also for some Scorpio risings as an opportunity to take advantage of contracts that you are a part of. And maybe for some of you, it means like getting back on top of your business and all the different contracts and subscriptions that you have, like just making sure you're on top of all of that. It can get you into a more kind of economically or financially savvy mindset or drive right now. And it can also, I'm seeing for some Scorpio risings that this can be really good for some people will graduate or they will be starting a program or some kind of course or experience of like psychology or therapy or consulting, because all of these things are 8th house in nature. They deal with other people's business, like their secrets, their emotional baggage, their trauma, their money. So any kind of 8th house type interest or career could be what's interesting you now because you want to get something from it. You want to get purpose or substance from it, or you want to just make money from it. So big gains. And this is Mars ruling, of course, your first house, Scorpio, because you're a Scorpio rising, but also your 6th house. So I think it's also a great time for you to like do all that Googling, Scorpio, that you might do and find those tidbits as to how to like rid yourself of certain bad fortunes, certain things, small things that you might be like suffering from. It's a great time for you to do that, especially with relation to your body and your health. So to do that digging, maybe even pay somebody to provide that kind of service for you. So this would be like maybe even for some Scorpio rising, spending the next few years paying for health checkups more kind of consistently, or paying for blood tests more consistently, that kind of thing, or going through some kind of other first house course of correction. It could be to do with like confidence, like stage confidence. It could be to do with like attire, like color selections, and like just, you know, wardrobe revamping. It could be to do again with surgery, because I mentioned before Mars is the ruler of surgery. So yes, for some Scorpio risings, this is like surgery, but especially a kind of corrective surgery because something previously was or is bad or caused struggling or suffering. So it's not necessarily cosmetic surgery, but more because there's something painful going on for some Scorpio risings. And also Jupiter for you, Scorpio, rules your 2nd and your 5th houses. So this could be for those who have children or pets or like baby plants, that kind of thing. This can be a period of a lot of spending and investment on your babies, your children, your fur babies. It can be also a lot of spending and investment towards love, dating, romance, because these things are also in the 5th house. For some, this is going to be a period, as I mentioned for a few other signs, a period of self care, yes, but self care through having fun and just letting loose and doing all these kind of Venusian things because Venus has her joy in the 5th house. So this could be just like getting yourself pampered very frequently, or going, and maybe some of you Scorpio risings haven't done that previously. And this conjunction can be a kind of shake up or a wake up call for some of you to just start doing that more for yourself, pampering, going to the spas, doing whatever it is to just have more fun and take care of yourself. Okay, next, Sagittarius rising. Okay, Sag rising, very important for you guys as well. I mean, all the mutable double-bodied signs, so Virgo, Pisces, Sagittarius, Gemini, for all of them, this is quite an important conjunction. But for Sagittarius rising especially, because Jupiter is your ruler, he's your life path ruler. He's the most important god for you, Sag. And he's in Gemini. As I mentioned earlier, he's in his detriment. He doesn't like to be there. He'd rather not be there. It's kind of like going to work when you'd rather be at home. But anyway, Sag rising. I have for you, beat them or join them. So for some Sag risings, this is going to be like a period beginning of like contention and fighting with others and negotiating with others. This is a big kind of omen for business and really getting into business for some Sag risings, whether that's like starting a program of business studies or starting a business venture that's going to last like 4 years, or even putting together a big business plan, a big meaty, mighty, motivated business plan for you for the next 4 years. Kind of, you know how people do like these 5-year plans. You could be doing something like that, Sag. Now, if you are a business person or entrepreneur. But yeah, beat them or join them, because this is a conjunction in your 7th house, which is the house of enemies. It is the house of other people. It's also the house of partners. So some of you might be beginning a period of, or just having this realization experience of having to get along with your partner instead of always fighting them. That's just one example of this expression. Or having to kind of put yourself in the shoes of other people more, Sag, as opposed to always putting our own kind of experience or our own opinions forward. It's more like just empathizing and that kind of stuff. So that can be a big theme or something bubbling up for you. And also for you, Sag, this is revival of the self. That's what I have for you as well. Really, revival of the self. Mars, he's this destroyer, and there can be this way that your character will start to be being revived, or something like that, because maybe there are people who are really like cutting you down, Sag, or really like attacking you, and it can be a big period or moment of growth and just kind of like starting from zero, crying it all out, and then just getting back out there, a whole new person almost, or totally like refreshed in some sense and ready to take the world on. So for some Sag risings, I get this thing of like revival of the self, and also, yes, renewed sense of self, but especially a sense of self gained from the interaction with others and the opposition of others or to others. And also for some Sag risings, this is like the comeback. So if you're like an artist of some kind, this can be, or a creator, this can be a great moment for you to put a lot of energy into a kind of comeback, or into a revival of how you want to be seen or how you want to come across. It can just be working with other people as well to get there. So working, like getting on people's good side in order to kind of have this blossoming moment that you might want to have, or in order to have this celebratory moment of the self as well. It's kind of just like a lot of like self, but really with relation to the other for you, Sag. And Mars rules your 12th house and your 5th houses. So what I want to say to you, Sag, is a lot of okay, just beware, Sag rising, of going on reckless sprees. That's what I want to say. Like a reckless spree, that type of thing. This could be a conjunction where some Sag risings start a more negative 4 to 5 year period of like spiraling into, I don't know, alcoholism, or spiraling into something that gets them in prison, or something that gets them in like an asylum, or something that gets them in rehab, which could be good because we do have this Mercury hosting this conjunction here, which has a lot of this retrograde energy toning this conjunction. So I like that if you are going to rehab, or you feel like you have to go to rehab, then this could be that push to do that, or to do some kind of work on yourself, heavy lifting on yourself in terms of like addictions. And it might involve isolation in some way. And for other Sag risings, this could also be like a 4 year period of traveling around the world, or traveling around different towns and cities kind of further afield from you, as a kind of self-exploratory thing. But just watch out that that doesn't get too much into like the reckless lane. So that's what I have for you, Sag rising. And also Jupiter rules your first house and your fourth house. So there could be a lot of like going back home. I think for a lot of Sag risings, this could really be like that kind of go home type of thing. So go big or go home. Some Sag risings will be going back home to their families, to their hometowns. And there could be this kind of important or significant revisiting of the past for you. Okay, Capricorn rising. So if you're Capricorn rising, I have for you and this Mars Jupiter conjunction to shake off that bad shiz. So this is similar to, who was it earlier? Who was it? Cancer rising, a little bit similar to Cancer rising. That is your opposite rising sign, after all. For you as well, Capricorn, this is shaking off bad shiz, because the sixth house is where you're having this conjunction. So the sixth house is the house of bad fortune and suffering, and it can be like health problems as well. And this conjunction then, therefore, can be a push for you to do something to deal with that. And a lot of you Capricorn risings might be hiring people or the services of others to do that, because the sixth house is also hiring people and managing people as well. So maybe for some Capricorn risings, it's a step up kind of period. Maybe for the next 4 years or so, you're going to be a manager or supervisor of some sort, Capricorn, or leader of some sort, a boss even. And that's very much up Capricorn's alley. But there can be this kind of managerial, bossy, or kind of employing type of theme beginning for you, Capricorn. And Mars, Capricorn, rules your fourth and your 11th houses. So this could have to do for you, this conjunction, with like the home and things that you want for your home, things that you want for yourself, for your house. So there could be this push for you to learn and to gain and seize things to do with these wishes. So maybe you want like to buy a home, or maybe you want to get a mortgage, or maybe you want to, I don't know, renovate or do something at home, or really switch something up at home, in your home. And also it can be for some Capricorn risings, this wish to go back to the hometown or the homeland, whatever that is for you, wherever that is. And that can be, it can be for some Capricorn risings, a long period of living back home as well, that kind of thing. And Jupiter rules your 12th and 3rd houses, Capricorn. So that's stuff like, what I have here is getting wise and learning about the people around you and who might be sabotaging you, Capricorn, or what might be sabotaging you that's around you. And this can be a kind of period for you to just shake that off. Okay, Aquarius rising. So if you're Aquarius rising, this Jupiter and Mars conjunction is a driving toward who and what you love, because you have this conjunction in your fifth house. The fifth house is a house of things like romance and love and children, which includes pets and plants and anything that you nurture and grow and consider to be a baby of yours, a child of yours. Could be like an album as well. So it's a kind of drive, maybe even a frustrating type of drive, Aquarius, towards something that you love or someone that you love. There can be a lot of dating as well for you, Aquarius, in the neighborhood, local dating. So this is because Mars rules your third and 10th houses, and this is love with that fifth house that we're talking about. So this could be just like expressions of like wanting to be romantic with someone or people like immediately around you or closer to you. Even with friends, this can be the case because the third house is also a house of friends. Now, also, there can be, I'm getting here for you, Aquarius, like some kind of big action or even job or career related thing that you want to do, or some endeavor that you start that has to do with your friends or even siblings, because this is the third house as well. So maybe teaming up with a friend or a sibling to start working on something business wise. And also, Aquarius, this is Jupiter ruling your second and 11th houses. So even more, if you're like a business person, Aquarius, this is quite auspicious because there could be here more things going to work out for you or come true for you the more you invest your money or your resources, because the second house is the house of money and resources and seeds and investments. Okay, Pisces rising. So I have here quite simply for Pisces rising with this Jupiter Mars conjunction, overhauls. So that's kind of just a keyword for you. Overhauls. So there might be something that you just need to completely reset or calm down, Pisces, because we have the fourth house here. This is the house of your foundations. Yes, it's the house of home, house, family, roots, the past, memories, but it's also the house of mysteries and things buried and hidden. So for you, Pisces rising, this conjunction can really bring up or be about digging up or forcing up something that's like beneath you or under you. Yes, it can be for some Pisces risings a big secret being revealed. It can also be like maybe some Pisces risings really want to change something to do with their education. And so you're going to spend this next period spending more money or time or energy on your higher education. Maybe some of you going to university or back to university, especially back to learning or a learning place, because we have this Mercury retrograde hosting this conjunction. So yes, for some Pisces risings, going back to school or redoing a set of courses or engaging, reconnecting with the church or God or gods or whatever it is for you. That can also be something going on for Pisces, but it feels also maybe like a big overhaul or something is being very much so revamped or switched up or switched around. And also, Pisces, Jupiter rules your first house. I was saying earlier for Sagittarius rising, this is a very poignant, important conjunction. And for you as well, Pisces, because this is also your life path ruler. Jupiter is the most important planet or god for you. And yes, he therefore rules your first house, which is that house of you as an individual, you as a spirit, you as a being, your very spirit, your very being, and your health, your body, and also your worldview, and what I'm getting for a lot of Pisces risings, because Jupiter rules your first and also your 10th houses, I'm getting a lot of action being taken towards overhauling yourself, Pisces. That can be a million different things for a million different people, but like overhauling of the self. For some people, this is going to be complete bodily transformations or complete health switch. So maybe some Pisces risings have thus far been very, very healthy, but now for the next like 4 or 5 years, they're going to kind of spiral into more unhealthy kind of lifestyles. Other Pisces rising is going to kind of be the opposite. You really need to look at your experience thus far and your birth chart to really get into the details of this. But for some Pisces risings, it's going to be maybe there's been kind of health or poor health, but I'm not really getting health as a theme. I'm getting more for Pisces risings, more than health. It's more than what am I trying to say for Pisces? More than like bodily health. It's more the self, like an overhauling of the self. So it has to do with like personality or aura or outlook. So I feel like these things are where a lot of Pisces risings will start to put much more action into. And also, this is where the gods will be paying much more attention to for you, Pisces rising. Okay, Aries rising. We're almost done. Aries rising. For you, Aries, this is living a little. That's what I have for you. Just living a little, because this conjunction of Mars, yes, your life path ruler, so Mars is the most important god for you, Aries, conjunct with Jupiter in your third house. This is the third house of things like siblings and friends and all the stuff and the people that's just like immediately around you. So this is like a really chill kind of house, the third house. And this is kind of an interesting kind of quirky, maybe slightly irritating type of conjunction for you, Aries, where like people and things around you might just be a bit quirky or weird or interesting, and also maybe like the friends and the siblings that you might have, they are kind of pulling you to do more things or to do this or that. And it can be interesting for you because maybe you're throwing yourself into things that you never did before, or maybe for some Aries risings this becomes like, instead of being very dominant or initiating, it can be for some Aries risings be a period of being more kind of just relaxed or backseat with your siblings or with your friends or with your neighbors. If you're an Aries rising who's always been like fighting, for example, your roommates, your neighbors, that kind of thing, it can mark the start of a turn or a different kind of way of looking at things. And maybe it's going to be better for you. Maybe you're just going to learn a lot of things from conflicts with others around you, or you're going to learn a lot of things about your assertion with or over other people. And that can, yes, for some Aries risings, have a lot to do with siblings, because the third house is the house of siblings. Now, Aries, Mars rules, yes, your first house and your eighth house. So this can have to do with your own idleness in some way, which is very interesting because for a lot of Aries risings, we don't think of idleness. With Aries rising, we tend to think of like very initiating, kind of adventurous, go, go, go types. But there's a very interesting thing in spirituality that is idleness in the wildness. So people, sometimes as spirits, we just want to distract ourselves, our true selves, by constantly being on an adventure or constantly being somewhere else. But the thing that doesn't really have any meaning for us, or it's not really who or what we are. And sometimes Aries rising needs this kind of grounding or this kind of balancing. which is kind of like someone asking you, okay, but what are you doing it for? Or what's the point? Or are you really happy? So there can be this kind of conjunction moment for some Aries risings that has to do with just getting back to like the basics, the ground knowledge, or questions of like, where am I going? Am I just being idle or lost in the buzz of things? Or am I constantly chasing something that's always out of reach? And do I even know what I'm chasing? So things like this can really crop up for the Aries rising, I'm feeling. And also, Jupiter rules your ninth and 12th houses. So here we go. This is just another kind of synchronicity I'm having for you, Aries. Big ninth house learning and like meaningful lessons to do with your kind of isolations. And it's kind of like for a lot of Aries risings, it's an isolation through extroversion. You know how sometimes we, as spirits, we can't sit with ourselves if we're still. We don't like to be with ourselves. You know, have you ever tried to not use your phone or devices for like an hour? For a lot of people, that's very hard. Or have you ever tried to not go to parties or events or whatever for like a whole week? For extroverted people, this type of thing can be very difficult. And I think some Aries risings will be learning something about that. Maybe Aries risings will be going on a more kind of sedate or chill type of experience abroad, or kind of religious or spiritual kind of journey for the next few years. That has to do with like, how am I moving and what does that mean for me? What can I learn from the way I'm moving and that kind of stuff? Okay, very interesting, Aries. Quite deep for Aries rising. Taurus rising. So last but not least, Taurus rising. So for you, I have, with this Jupiter-Mars conjunction, big investment. And this is because you have this conjunction in your second house, and that is the house of money and assets and everything that you own and can pick up and move around for yourself. It is also the like pocket house, anything you carry on your person, accessories, devices, and it's the house of input and investment. So that's all kinds of effort. So not just money, but like energy and time, and even what you have to say to things, what you have to speak to things. So there can be, this can mark, this conjunction, a big moment for you, Taurus. And you have Uranus in your first house, Taurus, and it's there for yonks and yonks and yonks. So there's a lot of Uranian energy already, but you might be wanting to, Taurus, throw all of your money into something, or throw all of your time into something. Maybe even something that you feel is bigger than yourself, or what you view personally. It can be a very kind of self sacrificing type of thing when it comes to your money or your assets, which is very interesting for Taurus rising, right? Because Taurus rising a lot of the time can have more of this kind of fixed energy when it comes to their money. So keeping their own money for themselves, or always spending or investing in the same way or with the same rhythms. But you've got Uranus in Taurus. So it's almost like all the Taurian stuff that we know is just off kilter right now. But anyway, yes, second house, which by the way includes things like your diet and your nutrition. So some Taurus risings will be spending a lot more time with that. So they might be, maybe you're going to spend the next few years. Some Taurus risings can be very lazy. I'm just going to say that. So it might be like a turnaround point of like stopping. Remember, Mars is the god of like cutting and stopping things, and it can be where you just stop ordering takeaways every day, for example. This is one expression. So you just stop ordering takeaways and you've decided from this conjunction point, you're going to cook for yourself. Or maybe you have like some plot of land, or you have a garden or cute balcony, whatever, and you've decided you're going to grow your own tomatoes, right? Something like that. There's something that's going to start caring more about what you put in your body, Taurus, or care more about how much you spend on the stuff you put in your body. And maybe some Taurus risings will get into cooking. For example, some Taurus risings will start right now a course on cooking or something culinary, like rough 3 to 5 year period, or stuff like nutritional studies, that kind of thing. And Mars rules your 7th house as well, Taurus. So, and the 12th house. So 7th and 12th house ruler coming in to your 2nd house. There can be a lot of, again, I just get for you a lot of spending on your partner, maybe even too much for some Taurus risings, but a lot of investment and a lot of spending. It's interesting. And also Jupiter, he rules your 8th and your 11th houses. So this is where it's all kind of worth it for you. Maybe you sense, you smell, Taurus rising, the booty. You smell the booty that's going to come. Because the 8th house is the house of what comes back around, what comes back to you. It's the reward for the investment. So I think you see, or you're starting to see, you're about to see the value in something, Taurus. And that is why, that's the explanation behind this kind of seemingly random or abrupt spending or investment of time into something and someone. Again, it can be towards your partner as well. So just all of a sudden becoming more doting on your partner or giving to your partner. But it's because you see that something valuable is going to come back. It will come back to you. And it has to do maybe with friendship, because Jupiter rules your 11th house. So maybe you want to gain more from your friendships, Taurus, and that's why you're spending more time and money on things. Or maybe you have a certain wish when it comes to your debts, because the 8th house is the house of debts, and you're realizing now that you have to take actions A, B, and C, or you're asking around and you're finding out information about how to go about tackling A, B, and C in order to eliminate or to fight. Mars rules fighting, fight debt, and these types of 8th house thing. So there's a lot there for you, Taurus, as well. I feel like for you, it has a lot to do with money or resources and give and take, but also because you have this sense or feeling in your gut, maybe, of some prize kind of reward or return on your investments. Yeah, that's what I have for everyone. I hope this was interesting or useful for you. Have a lovely rest of your day, and let me know in the comments where you have Gemini and where this conjunction is for you and what kind of intentions you may be setting for yourself. Love yous, take care, and I'll see yous in the next one. Bye-bye.